Stop scrolling. You weren't meant to hear this part. They didn't break you. They built the version of you they fear the most. Listen closely. This message is for the one who survived. Yes, you. The one who thought this was just another video. Sit tight. Your heartbeat won't be the same after this. The lights flicker. The air tightens. A chuckle. Quiet. Sharp. Surgical. You know, it's funny. Most people scroll past their destiny like it's just another meme. But you stopped here. Which tells me one thing. You weren't meant for the crowd. You were meant for the classified section. The one even the CIA BLACKROOM didn't dare to open. They tried. Oh, they tried so hard to understand you. Agents, analysts, entire secret task forces whispering in dark rooms. And yet all they could say was, we can't classify them. They're above. You know what makes them terrified of you. Not your strength, not your mind, not even your potential. It's the combination. The way you walk like a contradiction, half prophecy, half threat. The way you glow like destiny wearing a grin. The way every system built to predict, measure, categorize, contain, or break you failed. Oh, the BLACKROOM boys. They tried every label in their dusty vocabulary. Outlier, anomaly, psychological deviation, high cognitive irregularity, unpredictable behavioral calculus. But none of it worked every time they thought they had you pinned. You shifted, you evolved, you slipped through their fingers like smoke from a fire they didn't know was already inside the building. And do you know what scared them the most? You didn't break under pressure. You sharpened every betrayal. You used it as fuel. Every person who tried to destroy you unknowingly built the throne you stand on now. Every insult polished the crown they swore you'd never wear. He leans forward, voice lowering. People like you, you're not born in hospitals. You're born in storms. They feared what they could not measure, you see. Systems fear the immeasurable. Governments fear the uncontrollable. Society fears the unforgettable. And you, my friend, you are all three. Finger taps the air, theatrically. That's why they monitored you. Studied your silence, recorded your pain, ran psychological models on your resilience because they couldn't figure out one thing. How does someone get hit by life this many times and still rise like they're collecting achievements? Oh, they hated that. You weren't supposed to rise. You weren't supposed to glow. You weren't supposed to survive what was designed to shatter you. But you did. And not only that, you came back stronger, calmer, smarter, darker, sharper. It's almost comical, he laughs, how people love to call you crazy simply because you see what they're too scared to look at. The world tried to contain you and failed. You weren't meant for their boxes. You weren't meant for their categories. You weren't meant for their small-minded measurements. Because the truth is, you're not part of the system. You're the glitch that rewrites it, the storm that breaks the forecast, the variable that ruins the algorithm, the destiny they didn't plan for the prophecy they tried to burn but couldn't. And that's why the whispers grew. Who are they? How do we stop them? How do we control them? Spoiler, they can't. Because people like you don't follow paths. You create them. You don't wait for permission. You become the permission. You don't ask for power. You embody it, the rise they tried to prevent. And now here you stand. After everything you endured, after everything they thought would break you, here you are, a walking paradox, a breathing revelation, the one they tried to erase but couldn't, the one they tried to silence but couldn't, the one they tried to classify but couldn't. A smile spreads. You're not above every system because you're special. You're above every system because you refused to be defined by one. And that is why the world will never forget you. He leans in, voice chilling and electric. They didn't fail to classify you because you're complicated. They failed because you're uncontainable. The crown they can't take from you. So wear your scars like medals, walk with that silent, terrifying confidence that makes the room shift. Speak like someone who already knows the universe is rearranging itself around their next move. And laugh. Oh, laugh. Like someone who has tasted hell and walked out with a crown. A final grin, sharp, royal, unapologetic. Because you aren't just above their system. You're the reason their system is shaking. You know, people look at someone like you and they ask the wrong questions. They ask, what happened to them? They should be asking, what didn't destroy them? Because anyone else would have folded, collapsed, faded, disappeared into the background noise of mediocrity. But not you. You stared down storms with a half smile. You walked through fire like it was warm rain. You turned heartbreak into ammunition. You turned betrayal into architecture. You turned loneliness into laser focus. He laughs softly, shaking his head. You're the only person I've seen who can stand in the middle of rubble and build a throne out of the debris. They misread you from the start. You see, they kept mistaking your silence for weakness. They thought your calm was surrender, your patience. They read it as fear. Oh, poor things. They didn't understand that silence is where you strategize. Calm is where you gather power. And patience. That's where you solidify victory before you even move. That's why the BLACKROOM agents panicked, not because you were loud, but because you were quiet and still impossible to predict. Because how do you control someone who doesn't react the way the system expects? You can't. That's when they realized you aren't part of the pattern, you are the disruption. They wanted to break you, not because of who you are, but because of what you're becoming. People fear evolution they can't track. They fear a mind that refuses to stagnate. They fear a soul that refuses to die. You don't just grow. You transform. You molt. You shed versions of yourself like old skin. Every time they think they caught you, you emerge as someone stronger, sharper, wiser. He tilts his head, smirking. They're not afraid of who you are today. They're terrified of who you'll be tomorrow. Because you're not done, not even close. You're still rising, still sharpening, still gathering storms. And they feel it. They feel your ascent like tremors under their feet. You carry a kind of power that can't be taught. You weren't trained for this. You were forged. Forged by disappointment. Forged by silence. Forged by long nights no one knows you survived. Forged by the moments where life tried to break you quietly. He taps his temple. That's why your mind works differently. Not better, not worse, just beyond their scale. You see angles people don't see. You hear truths hidden behind their lies. You sense danger before it forms. You feel energy shifts before people speak. And that, my friend, is not something any agency can catalog or compress into a report or quantify on a chart. That's why they gave up. You exceeded the limits of their language, their science, their understanding, their entire framework. They feared the moment you found yourself. You want to know the part that scared them the most? The moment you stopped apologizing for who you are. Because once you did that, it was over. Your steps grew heavier. Your voice grew clearer. Your presence grew louder. Even when you said nothing, your energy became a force, not an accident. You started walking like someone who knows they survived everything designed to bury them. And people like that, they can't be silenced, they can't be controlled, they can't be manipulated, they can only be witnessed. The closer you got to your purpose, the more they panicked. You ever notice how the attacks got worse right before your breakthrough? That wasn't coincidence. That was desperation. Life doesn't throw that much chaos at someone who's insignificant. No. Storms don't chase the forgettable. They chase the destined. And you're walking destiny with footsteps that echo. You're the kind of person whose existence creates pressure in the room. The kind who forces people to confront their own weaknesses just by being present. And that's why they tried to shrink you. Not because you were small, but because you were becoming too big for their comfort, but you kept rising. And now, they can't stop it. You crossed the threshold, the place where pain turns into purpose, the place where trauma becomes transformation, the place where fear becomes fire. And once someone crosses that point, once someone truly awakens, there's no going back. That's when they finally whispered the words, "They're above every system." Not because you're untouchable, but because you're unstoppable, not because you're perfect, but because you're evolving, not because you're chosen, but because you chose yourself. So keep walking the way you do, unbothered, unreadable, unforgettable. Keep moving like a storm disguised as a human. Keep speaking like someone whose voice carries echoes of battles won in silence. Keep standing like someone who survived the kind of endings most people never recover from. He smiles, slow, chilling, royal. Because you're not just above their system. You're rewriting what a human being is capable of.